Did you know that a Roman emperor once baptized an entire army in a single dramatic event? But here's the twist. This wasn't a baptism with water. It was a far more intense, symbolic, and strategic act that changed the fate of the Roman Empire. You might think of it as just a moment of religious conversion, but the reality is far more complex. It was a turning point that would reshape the course of Roman history and solidify Christianity's place in the empire forever. The story begins in a time when the Roman Empire was still deeply entrenched in pagan traditions. The gods of Rome were all-powerful, and the soldiers, like everyone else, worshipped them. But what if one of the most powerful emperors in Roman history could suddenly change that? What if, in one fell swoop, he could convert his entire army to a completely different religion, a religion that was barely tolerated at the time? It was 312 AD, and the Roman Empire was still a land of gods and complex rituals. The soldiers knew their gods, Jupiter, Mars, and Venus, and they feared them. But there was something on the horizon, something that would alter the course of history. The emperor at the time, Constantine, was about to take an unprecedented step that would change the empire forever. Now, before we dive into what exactly Constantine did to baptize his army, let's set the stage. This time, Christianity was still an underground movement, persecuted by the Roman authorities. Christians were often executed, imprisoned, or forced to flee. But a change was on the horizon. Constantine, the future emperor, was about to make a decision that would not just affect the lives of his soldiers, but would reshape the identity of the Roman Empire itself. What could possibly drive Constantine to take such a monumental step? It wasn't just faith. Constantine had a vision, a dream that would change everything. On the eve of a crucial battle, he saw something that would define his legacy, and that of the empire. A vision that would steer him to embrace a faith that, only a few years earlier, could have gotten him killed. He saw a cross in the sky and heard a voice telling him, "In this sign, conquer." That was the moment that would mark the beginning of his decision to baptize his entire army. But here's the mystery. Why did he choose to act on this vision? Some say it was divine intervention. Others argue that it was a brilliant tactical move, a way to rally his troops. Whatever the reason, Constantine's belief in the power of this vision was so strong that he began to think that perhaps this was the key to his victory. Could this vision, this divine message, truly guarantee his success? Was it a sign that he was meant to be more than just a military leader? Constantine's personal belief in this divine encounter began to influence his decisions. What if Christianity, a faith that had been so persecuted, was the key to bringing unity to the empire? What if he could unite his army under one symbol, one faith that transcended the old Roman gods? The Roman military, a force built on honor, strength, and discipline, was about to undergo a dramatic transformation. But how would he accomplish this? Would he force his soldiers to abandon the gods they had known for centuries? Would he convince them to embrace a new religion that was still seen by many as a cult? What would it take to baptize an entire army? Constantine's solution was simple, yet radical. He ordered that his soldiers mark themselves with a Christian symbol, the Chyro. It wasn't just a religious act, it was a spiritual transformation. In that moment, every soldier in his army would officially commit themselves to the Christian faith. But this wasn't just about religion, it was a military strategy. Constantine understood the power of symbols, how they could unify a force and boost morale. By adopting the Chyro, the soldiers were not only aligning themselves with Christianity, they were aligning themselves with Constantine's vision of a united and victorious army. This baptism of sorts wasn't just about converting soldiers, it was about changing the very fabric of Roman military culture. For centuries, Roman soldiers had worshipped Mars, the god of war. But now, under Constantine's leadership, they were about to worship a new kind of strength, the power of belief. This wasn't a conventional military tactic, it was something far more personal. It was a step toward consolidating both spiritual and political power under one ruler. And then came the Battle of Milvian Bridge. It was a decisive moment in Roman history. Constantine's army, now united under this new faith, faced off against the much larger forces of Maxentius, who was still loyal to the old Roman gods. The battle seemed like it would be a lost cause, with Constantine's forces outnumbered. But the outcome was nothing short of miraculous. Constantine's army defeated Maxentius, and Constantine attributed this victory to the Christian God. It was a dramatic confirmation of his vision. This victory was more than just a military win. It was a declaration that Christianity could no longer be ignored. The gods of Rome had failed to protect Maxentius, while Constantine's new faith had led him to triumph. This moment would be remembered not just as a victory in battle, but as the beginning of the rise of Christianity within the Roman Empire. Constantine's baptism of his army had worked not just in a military sense, but in a spiritual one as well. Could this victory, this divine favor, have been the beginning of something much greater? Constantine's belief in the power of his vision didn't end on the battlefield. It set the stage for a new era in Roman power, where Christianity would no longer be a persecuted faith, but the cornerstone of the empire. This was a moment that marked a new chapter, not only in the Roman Empire's military strategy, but in its very soul. So as we look back at this pivotal moment in Roman history, we ask, could this event truly mark the beginning of a new era in Roman power? Or was it just a brilliant military strategy masked as divine intervention? Regardless of the answer, what we do know is that Constantine's decision to baptize his army changed the course of history and set the stage for Christianity's dominance in the Roman world. And in doing so, Constantine didn't just shape the future of the empire, he shaped the future of religion itself. But how did this moment, this baptism of an entire army, ultimately alter the fate of Rome? Stay tuned, because the journey is just beginning. Constantine's vision is one of the most pivotal moments in Roman history. But what was the vision that led him to baptize an entire army in a single moment? The truth is, Constantine's vision wasn't just a personal revelation. It was a turning point in the history of the Roman Empire. It all started on the eve of the Battle of the Milvian Bridge in 312 AD, one of the most crucial conflicts in Roman history. Constantine, then a military leader, was preparing for battle against Maxentius, his rival for control of the Roman Empire. The odds were stacked against him. Maxentius had a much larger army, and Constantine's forces were vastly outnumbered. But that night, Constantine had a dream, a vision that would change everything. He saw a symbol in the sky, a crop. It was a divine sign, something that would forever alter the course of his destiny. In the vision, a voice said, "In this sign, conquer." Now, many historians have debated the true meaning of this vision. Some argue that it was a divine message, God guiding Constantine to victory. Others claim it was a tactical decision, a clever psychological move to rally his troops. But here's where things get interesting. Constantine took this vision to heart. He was not just a ruler. He was someone deeply moved by the idea that this was a divine call to arms. It wasn't just about winning a battle. It was about transforming his entire approach to leadership and power. But was it truly divine intervention? Or was it perhaps a smart strategy to unite his fractured army? Most people think Constantine's conversion to Christianity was purely based on faith. But the reality is, it may have been just as much about power and control as it was about religion. Constantine didn't just see a vision. He saw an opportunity to reshape the Roman military and ultimately the entire empire. Could this vision have been the key to his rise to power? Could it have been more than just a dream, but a way to legitimize his rule in the eyes of his soldiers and the empire? What we know for sure is that Constantine didn't ignore this vision. He acted on it, making a bold decision that would shape the future of the Roman Empire. Instead of merely going into battle with the typical Roman gods and rituals, Constantine adopted a new symbol, one that his soldiers could rally around. Chyro, a Christian symbol, became the emblem of his army. This wasn't just a religious symbol. It was a unifying force, a way to give his soldiers something greater than just the promise of victory. It was a way to bind them together, not just under the banner of Rome, but under the banner of a new emerging faith. And here's the part that most people miss. Constantine wasn't just influencing his soldiers' faith. He was also transforming the very foundation of Roman military culture. The Roman army, traditionally rooted in paganism, was now becoming something else entirely, a Christian army. Constantine's soldiers were not just fighting for Rome. They were fighting for something far bigger, something that transcended the Roman gods. They were fighting for God, for Christianity. This wasn't just a shift in tactics. It was a seismic shift in the way soldiers thought about their purpose and their role in the empire. This vision, this moment of spiritual transformation, didn't just stay with Constantine. It had a profound effect on his soldiers, who, for the first time, saw themselves as part of a divine mission. It wasn't simply about loyalty to the emperor. It was about loyalty to a higher calling. And as the battle loomed ahead, Constantine's soldiers were no longer just an army of warriors. They were an army of believers, united under a single powerful symbol. But what was the real impact of Constantine's vision? Was it just a psychological tactic, or did it truly change the fate of the Roman Empire? The Battle of Milvian Bridge would provide the answer. But before we get to that, let's reflect on this pivotal moment. Constantine's vision was more than just a dream. It was a vision of power, a vision of unity, and a vision of transformation. In that moment, Constantine wasn't just a leader fighting for control of an empire. He was a leader fighting for the future of a faith, for the future of Christianity, and for the future of a unified empire. This wasn't just about a man who had a dream and acted on it. This was about a ruler who saw the potential for a new kind of empire, one that would reshape the course of history. Constantine's vision wasn't just about conquering an opponent. It was about conquering the very spirit of the Roman military and transforming it into a force for something greater. As the day of battle approached, Constantine's soldiers were ready not just to fight, but to fight with purpose, to fight for something far beyond the battlefield. They were ready to conquer in the name of the Christian God, as Constantine had seen in his vision. The question remained, would this vision lead them to victory? Would this new faith truly give them the strength they needed to overcome their enemies? This brings us to a question that has lingered in the minds of historians. Was Constantine's decision to adopt Christianity and baptize his army truly a turning point for the Roman Empire? Or was it simply a strategic maneuver, a clever way to win the support of his soldiers and the empire at large? It's a question that might never be fully answered, but one thing is certain. Constantine's vision changed the course of history. The vision that came to Constantine on the eve of battle was not just a dream. It was a vision of the future, a future where the Roman Empire would embrace a new faith, a new order, and a new identity. The vision of a cross in the sky was more than just a divine sign. It was a sign of things to come, a sign that the future of the Roman Empire would be shaped by faith, by belief, and by the power of unity. In the end, Constantine's vision wasn't just about conquering an enemy on the battlefield. It was about conquering an empire's empire's soul, about changing the very fabric of Roman society and military culture. This was the moment when Constantine's true legacy began to take shape. And as we'll see in the next chapter, it wasn't just Constantine who was changed by this vision. It was the entire world. The Romans were masters of symbolism. From their grand statues to their flags and emblems, they understood the power of a symbol to unite their people, communicate messages, and rally armies to battle. The use of these symbols wasn't just decorative, it was strategic. And it wasn't just about fighting, it was about belief, strength, and the psyche of the Roman soldiers. These symbols carried immense power, and Emperor Constantine was about to use that power to change the course of history. But here's the twist. Most people think of Roman soldiers as staunch followers of the old Roman gods, worshipping Mars, the god of war, and Jupiter, the king of the gods. What if I told you that Constantine, a Roman emperor, used Christian symbols, not Roman gods, to rally his troops for battle? Yes, the Chyro symbol, the Christian monogram, would become the emblem of Constantine's army, uniting them under a single banner that symbolized victory, divine protection, and faith. It all began with a single, simple symbol. This Christian symbol, formed by the first two letters of Christ in Greek, would come to represent not just faith but victory. But how did this all happen? And why would Constantine, a Roman emperor who had spent his early life worshipping the traditional Roman gods, suddenly embrace Christianity? Was it simply a strategic move, or was there something more profound at work? Let's go back to the beginning of Constantine's military campaigns. The Roman army had long been accustomed to the sight of battle standards, or signa, which carried the images of Roman gods and their legions' protector spirits. These symbols were potent. They were more than just flags. They embodied the very spirit of the Roman military. They represented the empire itself and the power of Rome. But Constantine needed something more, something that would connect his army not just to their emperor, but to a higher cause. And that's when he had the vision, the one that changed everything. What Constantine saw in the sky wasn't just a sign. It was the Chyro symbol blazing across the sky with divine light. It was a symbol of a power far greater than the Roman gods. It was a message that could not be ignored. And it was at that moment that Constantine made a decision that would shift not only the Roman Empire but the course of Western history. Now let's examine the genius behind Constantine's decision. Armies in Roman history fought under the banner of Jupiter or Mars, but Constantine was no longer interested in just a symbol of power and war. He needed something that would unite his troops, something that would bind them together not just by the sword, but by faith. The Chyro symbol, representing Christ, became the rallying point for his army. This was a bold, unprecedented move that would shake the foundations of the Roman military. The Chyro was not just a symbol of victory, it was a symbol of divine favor. And here's the surprising part. Constantine wasn't just trying to unify his soldiers under a single banner for a battle. He was setting the stage for a complete transformation of the Roman army. Soldiers who had once worshipped Mars now had a new deity to fight for. This wasn't just about fighting for the empire, it was about fighting for God. The Chyro represented more than just protection. It was a new beginning for a Roman military that would now be bound by Christian beliefs. Think about it. Soldiers who had fought under Roman gods were now fighting under the banner of Christ. The shift wasn't just spiritual, it was psychological. And this shift in mindset would come to define the entire Roman military under Constantine's rule. It wasn't just about strength in numbers anymore. It was about strength in belief. Constantine understood that a strong belief could turn the tide of battle. And with the Chyro, he gave his army not just a symbol, but a purpose. The Chyro became more than a religious symbol. It became a tool of war. It wasn't just about the power of belief. It was about using that belief to strengthen the resolve of the soldiers. Constantine knew that faith could be a powerful motivator, and he harnessed that power to rally his troops. The Chyro was a beacon, one that shone brighter than any Roman standard. It unified his army in a way that no pagan symbol ever could. And then came the Battle of Milvian Bridge. Constantine's army, now infused with this new faith, faced the much larger forces of Maxentius, his rival for the throne. The outcome was nothing short of miraculous. Despite being outnumbered, Constantine's forces triumphed. Constantine attributed this victory to divine intervention. The Chyro had worked, the Christian god had shown favor, and Constantine's army had emerged victorious. Now let's pause for a moment and think about what this victory meant. For Constantine, it wasn't just a military success. It was proof that his faith in the Chyro and in Christianity was justified. It wasn't just a symbol of personal belief. It was a symbol that connected him to something far greater. It was divine protection, divine strength, and divine approval, and it worked. But the victory at Milvian Bridge did more than just solidify Constantine's position as emperor. It set the stage for Christianity's rise within the Roman Empire. Could Constantine's use of the Chyro have been the beginning of a new era in Roman power? Absolutely. It wasn't just about military tactics. It was about a transformation in the way people thought about their power, their gods, and their purpose. Constantine's decision to use the Chyro to inspire his troops didn't just unite them in battle. It united them under a new faith, a faith that would soon dominate the Roman Empire. But here's the truly fascinating part. Constantine didn't just use the Chyro as a one-time battle symbol. He made it a permanent fixture of Roman military culture. It became a symbol that would be carried by his armies in every battle, a symbol that would continue to represent not just military might, but divine favor. This wasn't just a temporary strategy. It was the beginning of a new Roman identity, one defined by faith and belief in God. In the end, Constantine understood something that many other emperors had missed. The true power of a symbol is not in the image itself, but in the belief it inspires. The Chyro was more than just a cross. It was a rallying cry, a symbol of a new empire, one where faith and power worked hand in hand, and that was the key to Constantine's success. By choosing the Chyro, Constantine didn't just lead his army to victory, he led them into a new era of faith, strength, and unity. Constantine's decision to baptize his entire army was nothing short of revolutionary. But what exactly did he do to baptize his soldiers, and what kind of impact did it have on the Roman Empire? Well, it wasn't a baptism of water as you might imagine. Instead, Constantine initiated a spiritual conversion that would alter the Roman military forever and create a bond between religion and warfare that had never been seen before. At the heart of this moment was Constantine's decision to mark his soldiers with the Chyro symbol, a Christian emblem made from the first two letters of Christ's name in Greek. But here's where it gets fascinating. This wasn't just some religious gesture. It was a powerful symbol that carried immense meaning. Constantine wasn't just asking his soldiers to believe. He was uniting them under a single new identity. They were no longer just Roman soldiers. Under Constantine's leadership, they were soldiers of Christ, fighting under divine protection. Think about it. This was unprecedented. Roman soldiers had long worshipped the traditional gods like Mars, the god of war, but Constantine's move was bold and audacious. By marking his soldiers with the Chyro symbol, he was forcing a massive shift in how the army thought about its purpose. This wasn't about the old gods anymore. It was about Christ's power and the victory that came with divine favor. And the thing is, Constantine didn't just make this a private affair. Every soldier in his army was asked to participate in this act of spiritual conversion, uniting the army under one banner of faith. But why did he do this? Was it simply a religious decision, or was there a deeper strategic element? Most people think of Constantine's embrace of Christianity as a deeply spiritual move, but in reality, it was also a political and military maneuver. Constantine knew that by binding his soldiers together under a common faith, he could create a unified force that was more than just an army. It would become a symbol of divine power. A Christian army was one that could believe in something greater than themselves, something that would fuel their resolve in battle. Let's consider the broader implications of Constantine's decision. For one, it had never been done before in Roman history. The Romans were polytheistic, and the idea of a state-sponsored monotheistic religion was unheard of. Most armies fought under the banner of Roman gods, but Constantine's Christian banner would soon become synonymous with victory. This wasn't just about spiritual unity. It was about creating a new Roman identity, one that would be aligned with Christian beliefs. By aligning his soldiers with Christianity, Constantine was consolidating not only their religious beliefs, but also their loyalty. No longer were they simply fighting for an empire. They were fighting for a divine cause, and it worked. Soldiers, once unified by the glory of Roman gods, now had a greater unifying force, faith in Christ and the promise of divine victory. But the impact of this decision wasn't immediate. It would take time for the Christian faith to fully take root within the military. But this was the moment that began the process. Constantine had laid the groundwork for a shift in military culture, where belief would be just as important as skill and strength. He had understood that faith, when harnessed properly, could become a powerful tool for motivation and unity. And what about the soldiers themselves? How did they respond to this spiritual baptism? While we'll never know exactly what each soldier thought, it's clear that Constantine's decision affected their resolve. The idea that they were fighting under divine protection had to be a compelling motivator. This wasn't just a war for land or power, it was a war fought for the will of God. For many soldiers, this transformation would have been a deeply personal experience. They were no longer just soldiers, they were soldiers of Christ, part of something much larger than themselves. But there's another layer to this decision: the timing. Constantine made this move just before the Battle of Milvian Bridge, one of the most significant battles of his career. At the time, Constantine was vying for control of the Roman Empire against his rival Maxentius. The odds were stacked against him. Maxentius had a larger army, and the outcome seemed uncertain. But Constantine's decision to unite his soldiers under the Christian faith would soon prove to be a key factor in his victory. What happened next is almost legendary. Constantine's army, united by the Chyro symbol and their belief in divine favor, faced the much larger forces of Maxentius, and against all odds, Constantine's forces won. The battle was a turning point in Constantine's career, and in many ways in the history of the Roman Empire. Constantine attributed his victory to divine intervention, and it's hard to deny that the spiritual unity he created played a significant role in his army's success. But here's the kicker: Constantine's victory at Milvian Bridge wasn't just about military strategy, it was a sign of the power of belief. He set the stage for Christianity to become the dominant religion in the empire. His victory proved that Christian soldiers, united under a single divine cause, could conquer even the most overwhelming forces. And that was a message that would resonate throughout the Roman Empire for centuries to come. Constantine's baptism of the army didn't just change the course of his military career, it changed the course of history. It marked the beginning of a new era for Rome, one where Christianity would no longer be a persecuted faith, but a central force in the empire. The victory at Milvian Bridge was not just a military military triumph. It was a divine affirmation of the power of Christianity in the Roman world. So, did Constantine's baptism of his army truly work? The answer is a resounding yes. It wasn't just a spiritual conversion, it was a military and political move that unified his soldiers and solidified his empire. The Chyro symbol became a symbol of victory, and Constantine's use of it set the stage for the rise of Christianity in the Roman Empire. By marking his army with the Chyro, Constantine didn't just win a battle, he won the future of Rome itself. In the end, Constantine's baptism of the army wasn't just about changing the soldiers' faith, it was about changing the very soul of the Roman Empire. It was a move that would have far-reaching consequences, not only for the Roman military but for the entire trajectory of history. And as we'll see, this moment would be the foundation upon which the Christianization of Rome would unfold, transforming the empire in ways that no one could have predicted. The Battle of Milvian Bridge was more than just a clash of armies, it was a pivotal moment in Roman history. Constantine, now united with his army under the Christian faith, was about to face Maxentius, a much larger force. But Constantine's army wasn't just any army, it had been baptized, in a sense, marking the spiritual transformation that would fuel their courage and resolve. Could this baptism of faith really turn the tide in such a desperate battle? The odds were stacked against Constantine. Maxentius, with his larger and well-established forces, seemed poised for victory. Constantine, on the other hand, had the Chyro symbol shining proudly on his soldiers' shields, a beacon of divine protection. What does it mean when an army isn't just united by military tactics, but by belief, by faith in the divine? Could this be the edge Constantine needed? Most people think military strength, size, and tactics are the deciding factors in battle. But in this case, Constantine believed the very soul of his army, its faith, would be the true determinant. The Chyro was more than a symbol. It was a rallying point for something greater. This wasn't about conquering just another empire. It was about conquering in the name of Christ, and in the process, changing the future of the Roman Empire. So, how did this play out on the battlefield? When Constantine and his forces crossed the Milvian Bridge, they were fighting not just for power, but for divine favor. Constantine believed that the victory was not his alone, but was granted by God. His army, under the Christian faith, felt invincible, not because they were necessarily the stronger force, but because they believed they had the protection of the Christian God behind them. And here's the incredible part. Against all odds, Constantine's forces won. The battle wasn't just a military victory, it was a sign, a divine affirmation that Constantine was not just an emperor, but a ruler chosen by God. This victory, one of the most significant in Roman history, didn't just ensure Constantine's rise to power, it set the stage for Christianity to rise as well. Constantine's victory at Milvian Bridge was a turning point, not just in his career, but in the history of the Roman Empire. The fact that this battle was won with the soldiers believing in Christian protection raised the stakes of warfare itself. The soldiers were not just fighting for Rome, they were fighting for something far greater, the divine will of God. The victory was not just a political triumph, it was a spiritual triumph that would have far-reaching implications for the Roman Empire. So, did Constantine's baptism of his army actually work? The outcome suggests it did. The power of belief, of faith, united his soldiers in a way that no other strategy could. The battle had shown that when the heart and soul of an army are united by belief, anything is possible. This wasn't just the start of Constantine's reign, it was the start of Christianity's rise within the Roman Empire. By the time the battle was over, the stage was set for a massive shift in how the Roman Empire viewed religion. Constantine's military success, with Christian faith as its foundation, proved that a new kind of power, one based on belief, could lead to victory. Could this battle truly mark the beginning of a new era for the Roman Empire, one in which Christianity would not only survive but thrive? The Battle of Milvian Bridge certainly suggests so. But here's the real kicker. Constantine didn't just use this victory to solidify his personal power, he used it to solidify Christianity's place in the empire. This wasn't just a victory for Constantine, it was a victory for Christianity, and this moment would become the bedrock of a new era for the Roman Empire, one that would change the course of history forever. What did this victory mean for the Roman military? For the first time in history, Roman soldiers had fought under the banner of Christianity. Constantine had redefined what it meant to fight for Rome. It wasn't just about loyalty to the emperor, it was about loyalty to God. The soldiers felt invincible because they believed they were on a divine mission, and this belief, this shift in mindset, was exactly what allowed them to overcome the much larger and more experienced forces of Maxentius. The Battle of Milvian Bridge wasn't just a victory of armies, it was a victory of faith, and the ripple effects of that victory would be felt throughout history. Constantine had not only secured his rule, he had secured Christianity's future in the Roman world. But there's something deeper at play here. Was this victory truly a divine intervention, or was it the result of Constantine's military genius? Could it have been his strategic prowess that led to victory, or was it the army's newfound faith that made all the difference? It's hard to say. What's clear is that Constantine believed this victory was divinely ordained, and for him, that belief was enough. In the aftermath of the battle, Constantine's belief in the Christian God was solidified. The Battle of Milvian Bridge wasn't just the start of his reign, it was the beginning of a new era for Rome, one in which Christianity would take center stage. stage. Constantine's belief in the Chyro symbol and his army's baptism would set the stage for a new Rome, one defined by faith, and ultimately one that would change the world forever. After Constantine's victory at the Battle of Milvian Bridge, his actions would echo across the Roman Empire and alter its course forever. But what did this battle really mean for Constantine's faith and for the future of Christianity within the empire? You see, Constantine's victory wasn't just about the fall of Maxentius. It was the beginning of something even larger: Constantine's personal conversion and the Christianization of the Roman Empire. Now, after the smoke cleared and Constantine stood victorious, his first move was shocking. He publicly embraced Christianity, declaring it the official religion of the Roman Empire. Imagine that, the Emperor of Rome, once an opponent of Christianity, now a believer and advocate. How could this be? What led Constantine to this dramatic shift in his personal beliefs? At the heart of this change was the Battle of Milvian Bridge. The soldiers, united by their belief in Christ's divine protection, won an impossible battle. But Constantine's shift wasn't just a tactical move to consolidate power. It was a profound personal transformation. And when he took the throne, Constantine had one goal: to unite the Roman Empire. The empire was fractured with constant battles over religious and political power. Christianity, although growing in strength, was still a minority faith. But after this pivotal battle, Constantine saw something else: the potential of Christianity to unify his people. What did Constantine really believe? Was his conversion genuine, or was it a clever political maneuver? It's a question historians have debated for centuries. Some argue that Constantine's embrace of Christianity was simply a way to solidify his power, while others see a sincere change in his heart. One thing is clear: Constantine's embrace of Christianity had far-reaching consequences for the empire and its people. But Constantine didn't just embrace Christianity for personal gain. He actively worked to align the Roman military with this newfound faith. No longer was the Roman army a force beholden to the ancient Roman gods. It now had Christian symbols, like the Chyro painted on its shields and banners. The soldiers who once prayed to Jupiter and Mars now turned to Christ. In fact, Constantine ensured that his soldiers received Christian baptism, marking them not only as soldiers of the Roman Empire, but also as soldiers of Christ. This wasn't just about faith. It was about creating a unified divine military force that could conquer any enemy, and it worked. Constantine's reforms to the military were as effective as they were revolutionary. The soldiers' newfound faith gave them something they hadn't had before: unity. For the first time, they weren't just fighting for the emperor. They were fighting for a divine cause. This belief wasn't just superficial. It became a powerful motivator, transforming the way the Roman army fought and viewed the world. But Constantine didn't stop there. His efforts went beyond the military. He also worked to transform Roman society. Under Constantine's rule, churches began to rise across the empire, and the practice of Christianity flourished openly. Constantine wasn't just tolerating Christianity, he was actively promoting it. Pagan temples were being replaced by Christian churches, and the emperor provided funds and support for the construction of these places of worship. Constantine even extended his patronage to Christian leaders, ensuring they had the resources and power to shape Christian doctrine in a way that aligned with his vision. However, Constantine's embrace of Christianity wasn't without controversy. It caused a ripple effect across the empire. Many of the traditional Roman elites resisted this new faith, fearing that Christianity would weaken their power and influence. Constantine's decision to support Christianity was seen as a threat to the traditional Roman religious order. But Constantine pressed forward, knowing that in order to unify the empire, he had to secure a common belief system. Christianity was that system. By making Christianity the official religion, Constantine not only changed the Roman Empire's religious landscape, but also cemented his legacy as one of the most transformative rulers in history. His public support of Christianity set the stage for a major shift in the cultural and political fabric of Rome. The once persecuted Christian church was now in a position of power, and Christianity began to spread rapidly throughout the empire. Constantine's policies laid the foundation for what would become the Christian Byzantine Empire, a new Roman Empire that would last for over 1,000 years. But what was Constantine's true motivation? Genuine conversion? Or was it a politically savvy move? While we may never know for sure, the impact of his decision was undeniable. Constantine's victory and subsequent embrace of Christianity forever altered the course of Roman history. By embracing Christianity, Constantine shifted the religious and political dynamics of the empire. His actions ensured that Christianity would not just survive in the Roman world, it would thrive. He created a precedent that would influence not just future emperors, but the entire trajectory of Western civilization. His reign marked the beginning of the Christianization of the Roman Empire and the rise of Christianity as the dominant religion in the Western world. Constantine's conversion had a profound impact on the future of the empire and the church. As Christianity grew in power, the emperor became not just a political leader, but a religious figure. The emperor, once a representative of the Roman gods, now became a protector of the Christian faith. This shift would have lasting consequences for the relationship between church and state, as the emperor's role as a divine leader would continue to evolve throughout history. What did Constantine's conversion mean for the future of the empire? It meant that Christianity would play an increasingly central role in Roman life and governance. As the empire transitioned from paganism to Christianity, Christianity, the emperor became the head of not just the state but the church as well. This melding of religious and political power would set the stage for the Byzantine Empire, where emperors would hold sway over both the spiritual and secular aspects of Roman life. So, did Constantine's victory and subsequent embrace of Christianity truly mark the beginning of a new era for Rome? It certainly did. Constantine's reign set the stage for the rise of Christianity in the Roman Empire and shaped the course of Western civilization for centuries to come. His conversion changed the empire and the world forever. But here's the catch. Was Constantine's conversion motivated purely by faith, or did he see a political opportunity? That's a question historians still debate. Some argue that Constantine's actions were driven by a genuine desire to embrace Christianity, while others believe that he saw it as a tool to strengthen his rule. Either way, Constantine's embrace of Christianity changed the Roman Empire forever, laying the foundation for the Christian world order that would follow. And what we know for certain is this: Constantine's victory at Milvian Bridge didn't just win him the battle, it set the stage for Christianity to take root in the Roman Empire, altering the course of history for millennia. His actions were both politically astute and spiritually transformative, ensuring his place in history as one of the most influential emperors in Roman history. Constantine's Edict of Milan, issued in 313 AD, was not just a piece of legislation. It was a pivotal moment in history that forever changed the religious landscape of the Roman Empire. Before this decree, Christianity was persecuted by Roman emperors, with Christians often tortured and executed for their beliefs. But Constantine, having recently embraced Christianity, took an unprecedented step. He made Christianity not just tolerated but legal. Why did Constantine make this dramatic move? What made him believe that this was the right choice for the empire? The answer lies in his understanding of the empire's need for unity. The Roman Empire was crumbling under the weight of civil wars, political chaos, and religious divisions. Constantine saw that the growing Christian faith offered a unifying force, a common bond that could unify his empire. It wasn't just a spiritual choice for him, it was a pragmatic one. What most people don't realize is that Constantine wasn't the first emperor to wrestle with Christianity. The belief system had been spreading across the empire for decades. Constantine was the first ruler to see its potential to unite the people of Rome. Before the Edict of Milan, there were emperors who tried to stamp out Christianity, seeing it as a threat to the traditional Roman pantheon and the imperial cult. They feared that Christianity's refusal to worship the Roman gods would undermine the very fabric of Roman society. But Constantine saw something different. He recognized that Christianity could be the glue that held the empire together. This is where it gets interesting. Most people think Constantine's conversion was purely a spiritual journey, a sudden moment of personal epiphany. But the reality is more nuanced. It was a calculated move. By aligning himself with Christianity, Constantine not only secured the loyalty of his Christian subjects, but also solidified his political power. Yes, he could now position himself as the protector of a faith that was quickly becoming the majority religion in the empire. What many fail to acknowledge is that Constantine's conversion was likely a blend of genuine faith and political genius. And is he inspired by divine intervention, or was this the work of a shrewd emperor thinking ahead? The Edict of Milan was not just a religious decree, it was a political maneuver. It allowed Christians to practice their faith openly, without fear of punishment. It wasn't a grand conversion of the entire empire overnight. Rather, it was a gradual shift, one that gave Christians the freedom to practice their religion without fear of persecution. Churches could be built, holy texts could be distributed, and most importantly, Christians could organize and spread their faith without the shadow of violence looming over them. This was the beginning of a new era where Christianity would move from being a persecuted minority to becoming the dominant faith of the Roman Empire. But what did this mean for the Roman citizens who weren't Christian? For them, the Edict of Milan wasn't just a relief for their Christian neighbors. It was a sign of the emperor's ability to maintain control. Constantine's decree didn't force anyone to convert. It simply removed the threat of death or imprisonment for those who chose to follow Christ. By making Christianity legal, Constantine was ensuring that he had the support of an increasingly powerful and growing religious group. But he also maintained the balance of power, ensuring that pagan religions and traditional Roman practices could still be practiced freely. Despite the seemingly inclusive nature of the edict, it wasn't without controversy. Pagan elites in the empire, those who held power and influence through the traditional Roman religions, didn't take kindly to the emperor's actions. In fact, the edict marked the beginning of a series of clashes between Christian and pagan communities. What many don't realize is that Constantine's support for Christianity didn't completely eliminate paganism. It simply gave Christianity the space to thrive and grow, setting the stage for the gradual Christianization of the empire. But how did this edict change the trajectory of Christianity? It's often said that Constantine's decision to legalize Christianity led to its spread throughout the empire, but it was more than that. The edict provided Christianity with the legitimacy it needed to flourish, but it also opened the door for Constantine to use his influence to reshape Christian doctrine. By making Christianity the empire's favored religion, Constantine gained the ability to influence the direction of Christian teachings. He convened the First Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, aiming to settle doctrinal disputes and solidify a unified Christian church under his rule. The Nicene Creed, born from that council, Council became the foundational statement of Christian belief, and Constantine's role in shaping this belief system can't be overstated. What's fascinating here is that Constantine didn't just reshape the Christian church, he reshaped the very nature of the empire itself. He became not just a political leader, but a religious one. This blending of political and religious authority marked the beginning of the emperor as a divine figure, a trend that would continue for centuries. Constantine's influence didn't stop with the Edict of Milan. His support for Christianity had far-reaching consequences for the empire, especially when it came to public life. Christian symbols began to appear more prominently in the empire's architecture, in its coinage, and even in the emperor's own imagery. What's astonishing is that Constantine's reign marked a definitive shift in how religion and state functioned together. For the first time, a Roman emperor was seen as not just the ruler of the state, but as a protector of the Christian faith. However, this shift didn't come without its challenges. The relationship between the church and the state wasn't always smooth. Over time, tensions would rise as the church grew in influence, sometimes clashing with the emperor's authority. Constantine's legacy as the first Christian emperor would set the tone for future emperors, shaping the relationship between the Christian church and the state for centuries. So, did the Edict of Milan truly change the trajectory of Christianity? The answer is a resounding yes. It marked a moment when Christianity went from being a persecuted faith to becoming the dominant religion of the Roman Empire. But it also signaled the beginning of the empire's transformation, one that would see pagan practices slowly fade into the background, while Christianity rose to the forefront. Constantine's Edict of Milan was not just a political decision, it was the spark that ignited the Christianization of the Roman world. The empire, for the first time, had a common religious thread to hold it together. Constantine achieved with this decree was nothing short of revolutionary. His actions ensured that Christianity would continue to grow and prosper, both within the Roman Empire and beyond its borders. In the end, Constantine's edict was more than a legal document. It was a transformative moment in world history. It marked the beginning of a new era, an era where Christianity would become a central part of not just religious life, but also political life. His vision and his bold actions would shape the future of the Roman Empire and the entire world for centuries to come. Constantine's actions had an incredible impact on the Roman Empire, and one of the most defining moments in his reign was the pivotal shift in religious practice. The Roman Empire, which once fiercely rejected Christianity, began its transformation into a Christian empire largely due to Constantine's efforts. The Edict of Milan, issued in 313 AD, was his most important decision in this transformation. This decree, which legalized Christianity and granted freedom of worship, was an earth-shattering change in the Roman world. But how exactly did this monumental decision affect Christianity's spread across the empire? Before Constantine's reign, Christians were persecuted, often facing brutal executions and torture. Christianity was seen as a dangerous sect that defied Roman customs. The traditional Roman religions, with their pantheon of gods and emphasis on civic rituals, were deeply ingrained in Roman society. To challenge this religious order was no small feat. Constantine saw something others didn't. He saw Christianity as a unifying force in a fragmented empire. Could it be that the growing Christian community, with its fervent faith and commitment to a single unified God, could offer the empire stability? Most people think that Constantine's decision to embrace Christianity was purely personal, driven by a sudden spiritual awakening. However, the reality is much more strategic. Constantine knew that for his empire to remain strong, he needed a cohesive force, one that could unite people from all walks of life. Christianity, which had been spreading steadily across the empire, provided that force. By legalizing Christianity, Constantine ensured that the rapidly growing Christian population could practice their faith freely and openly. What's even more remarkable is that he didn't just make Christianity legal, he also made it the favored faith of the empire. Christianity's rise to prominence was not an overnight phenomenon. After the Edict of Milan, Constantine's active support for the faith helped it spread rapidly across the empire. What people often overlook is that Constantine did not force the empire to become Christian. He simply provided the space for Christians to thrive, free from persecution. It was during this period that the first Christian churches began to emerge, and Christian communities grew in size and influence. Constantine's role in this cannot be overstated. His decisions ensured that Christianity wasn't just a minority faith, but a faith that would shape the Roman Empire's future. One of the most fascinating aspects of this period is the way Constantine used his influence to shape the direction of Christianity. He didn't just legalize the faith, he actively promoted it, ensuring that it aligned with his vision for the empire. Constantine's support of Christianity wasn't without controversy, especially among the pagan elite who feared the erosion of Roman traditions. But Constantine knew that a unified empire would require a common religious thread. Christianity, with its strong organizational structure and message of hope and unity, was that thread. What most people don't realize is that Constantine was not only a political leader, but a religious figure. He saw himself as a protector of the Christian faith. He supported the building of churches, promoted Christian leaders, and even began to use Christian symbols and imperial imagery. His reign marked the first time that a Roman emperor was also seen as a defender of Christianity, paving the way for future emperors to claim divine right as their power became more intertwined with religious authority. But was this shift purely about politics? Many scholars argue that Constantine's conversion was a calculated political move, but that doesn't mean it lacked sincerity. After all, Constantine was deeply involved in shaping Christian doctrine, most notably at the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. Constantine convened this council to settle theological disputes within the Christian community and to establish a unified Christian doctrine. What's incredible is that Constantine wasn't just a passive observer at the Council of Nicaea. He actively shaped the direction of Christian teachings, ensuring that his vision of Christianity aligned with the political stability he saw for his. Now, let's pause for a moment. Most people believe that the rise of Christianity was an inevitable progression after Constantine's Edict of Milan, but the reality is, the rise of Christianity was not guaranteed. It was a complex, multifaceted process that involved Constantine's personal beliefs, political strategy, and the growing influence of Christian communities. Constantine's actions created a powerful synergy that propelled Christianity to new heights, but it wasn't without resistance. Pagan practices were still widespread, and many in the Roman elite were not ready to abandon their gods. Constantine's decree didn't end paganism overnight. It set the stage for a gradual transformation. What's even more remarkable is the way Constantine's actions would lay the groundwork for Christianity's future dominance. While paganism would eventually decline, Christianity would grow to become the state religion, influencing every aspect of Roman life. But even more significantly, Constantine's efforts helped to spread Christianity beyond the Roman Empire's borders, helping it become a global religion. Constantine's legacy as the first Christian emperor set the stage for Christianity's rise as a dominant force in the Western world, a force that continues to shape societies today. So, how did Constantine's actions influence the spread of Christianity across the Roman Empire? First and foremost, it was Constantine's active promotion of Christianity that allowed it to flourish. He provided the legal framework, the political backing, and the social legitimacy that allowed Christianity to become a force in Roman society. Through his support, Constantine ensured that Christianity would grow from a persecuted minority to the faith that would shape the future of the empire. In the end, the spread of Christianity wasn't just about Constantine's decision to issue the Edict of Milan. It was about his unwavering support of the Christian community, and what began as a minority religion would soon become the defining feature of Roman identity. Constantine's actions marked the beginning of a new era, one in which Christianity would play a central role in shaping both Roman politics and society. And what most people forget is that Constantine's reign wasn't just about the rise of Christianity. It was about the transformation of the Roman Empire. By embracing Christianity, Constantine created a new Roman identity, one that would endure long after his death. And it was this identity that would lead to the eventual Christianization of the entire empire, leaving a lasting legacy for generations to come. Constantine was not just an emperor. He was a revolutionary figure who played a pivotal role in reshaping the Roman Empire. His legacy is often marked by his embrace of Christianity, but one of the most intriguing chapters in his reign is the way he used religious symbolism to unite and fortify his empire. Constantine didn't just baptize his army in water. He baptized it spiritually, in a way that would change the course of Roman history. But how did this actually happen? Was it a miracle, or was there a deeper political strategy at play? Before Constantine's reign, the Roman Empire was a land of gods, with complex rituals that governed both the public and private lives of its people. Roman religion was deeply ingrained, and to challenge it was not something anyone would take lightly. In fact, the Roman Empire was a land where the emperor himself was often deified and revered as a god. So, when a new monotheistic religion began to spread through the empire, it was seen as a threat, and its followers were persecuted, tortured, and executed. How could one man, Constantine, change this entire system? It all started with a vision. On the eve of the Battle of the Milvian Bridge in 312 AD, Constantine had a dream that would forever change the trajectory of his empire. In the vision, he saw a symbol in the sky, a Christian cross, accompanied by a message: "In this sign, conquer." This was no ordinary dream. Constantine believed it was a divine sign, an omen calling him to change the empire's course and embrace Christianity. But was this really a divine intervention, or was it a political move to unite the fractured empire? Most people think Constantine's conversion was driven purely by his newfound faith, but the reality is that he was also a shrewd political strategist. Constantine was facing a formidable opponent in Maxentius, who controlled much of the Western Roman Empire. Constantine's forces were vastly outnumbered, but the vision of the cross inspired him to move forward, and in the ensuing battle, Constantine's forces triumphed. Constantine attributed his victory to the Christian God, and it was from this point that he began to publicly embrace Christianity. But was this belief truly genuine, or was it the result of pragmatic thinking? Could Constantine's newfound faith have been a way to rally the empire's growing Christian population behind him, ensuring loyalty and support? To better understand the importance of this moment, we must explore the role of symbolism in Roman warfare. The Romans were masters of using symbols to inspire their soldiers and project power. Each legion carried banners that represented their gods, their emperor, and their strength. Constantine, recognizing the power of religious imagery, adopted the Chyro symbol, a Christian symbol made up of the first two letters of the name Christ. Constantine ordered his soldiers to mark their shields with this symbol, people, essentially baptizing them with the Christian faith. This wasn't a traditional military maneuver, but rather a spiritual one, signaling that his army was fighting not just for Rome, but under the protection of the Christian God. It was a move that aligned his military might with divine authority, offering soldiers both earthly and heavenly protection. The act of baptizing his army was a far-reaching decision. It wasn't just about faith, it was about unity. Constantine understood that a unified army was crucial for victory, and by aligning his soldiers under the banner of a single deity, he consolidated their loyalty. This was a bold move in a time when the Roman Empire was still largely polytheistic, with its citizens venerating a pantheon of gods. Constantine's baptism of the army wasn't just about introducing a new religious practice. It was about forging a new identity for the Roman military, one that was grounded in Christian belief. This act, although symbolic, sent a clear message. The emperor and his army were now under the protection of a higher divine power. But what was the impact of this baptism on the soldiers? Roman soldiers were typically loyal to their emperor and the Roman gods. To ask them to pledge allegiance to a foreign deity, especially one that had been persecuted just a few years earlier, was unprecedented. Soldiers who had been converted to Christianity were now part of an army united under a common faith. It didn't take long before the Christian army became a symbol of hope and a new future for Rome. Constantine had not only secured the loyalty of his troops, he had also laid the groundwork for Christianity to become the dominant religion of the empire. The question remains, what effect did this spiritual baptism have on the soldiers and their resolve? The answer is complex. While some may have resisted, most soldiers likely saw the alignment with Christianity as a source of divine protection and strength. After all, Constantine's victory at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge was attributed to the Christian God. This was no small feat, and it reinforced the belief that the Christian faith could provide the military success and stability that Rome desperately needed. Constantine had made a bold decision, one that would set the stage for the spread of Christianity throughout the Roman world. What most people don't realize is that Constantine's actions did more than just baptize an army. They changed the very identity of the Roman Empire. By associating Christianity with Roman imperial power, Constantine bridged the gap between the traditional Roman gods and the Christian faith. This wasn't simply an act of conversion. It was the beginning of a process that would see Christianity not just tolerated, but promoted as the state religion. Constantine had taken a dangerous gamble, but in doing so, he ensured that Christianity would grow in strength, eventually becoming the dominant force in the Roman world. The spiritual baptism of Constantine's army was not just a one-off event. It was part of a larger movement that sought to reshape the empire. As we move forward in the story, we'll see how Constantine's embrace of Christianity influenced not only his military, but also the political and cultural fabric of Rome. His reign would set the stage for the rise of Christianity as the empire's central religion. But what were the long-term consequences of Constantine's decision to align his empire with Christianity? And how did this transformation influence the future of both Rome and the wider Christian world? As we continue, keep in mind that Constantine's decision wasn't simply about religious change. It was about the survival and future of the Roman Empire. Through his vision and strategic embrace of Christianity, Constantine secured his place in history as one of the most influential rulers in Western civilization. But there's still much more to uncover about the full impact of his reign and the enduring legacy of the Roman Empire's Christianization. Constantine's reign marked a dramatic shift in Roman history, especially with his embrace of Christianity. His decision to make Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire wasn't just a political move. It was a revolutionary act that changed the course of history. But how did Constantine's decisions affect the Roman Empire? What lasting impact did his reign have on both the empire and Christianity? Today we explore how Constantine shaped history in ways that are still felt around the world. In 313 AD, Constantine issued the Edict of Milan, which legalized Christianity and gave Christians the freedom to worship openly without fear of persecution. Constantine's conversion to Christianity was, in many ways, a game changer for both the empire and its people. It would not only reshape the Roman world, but also set the stage for the rise of Christianity as a dominant force in the Western world. The Edict of Milan wasn't just a policy, it was the key to the transformation of Rome itself. Before Constantine's conversion, the Roman Empire was a polytheistic society, steeped in the worship of gods like Jupiter and Mars. But after his conversion, Christianity quickly gained official status, forever altering the empire's culture. Constantine himself believed he was chosen by God to lead the empire, a belief that would influence every aspect of his reign. One of the key elements of Constantine's transformation was the Christianization of the Roman military. Prior to Constantine's rise, the Roman army had been firmly loyal to the traditional gods of Rome. However, with Constantine's conversion and the legalization of Christianity, the army was also baptized into the Christian faith. Soldiers were encouraged to embrace Christianity, and Constantine even began to incorporate Christian symbols, like the Chyro, into the army's standards. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in the Roman military, one that was defined by religious unity and spiritual strength. But what impact did Constantine's Christianization of the military have on Rome's success in battle? After Constantine's vision before the Battle of Milvian Bridge in 312 AD, where he saw the Christian cross and heard a voice saying, "In this sign, conquer, Constantine attributed his victory to divine intervention. His belief in the Christian God became so deeply ingrained in his rule that it affected every aspect of his military strategy. From that point forward, the Roman army fought under the protection of Christianity, and Constantine's reign saw a period of relative stability and success. Constantine's influence didn't stop with the military. He was also responsible for calling the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, which aimed to resolve disputes within the Christian community. The council addressed critical issues like the nature of Christ and the official date of Easter. Convening this council, Constantine sought to unify the Christian church and bring it into alignment with the empire's goals. It was a bold step, one that showed Constantine's commitment to not only political unity, but also religious cohesion. Through the Council of Nicaea, the Nicene Creed was created, which became the foundation of Christian belief. The creed affirmed that Jesus Christ was both fully divine and fully human, a concept that was pivotal in shaping Christian doctrine. Constantine's role in the council was crucial. While his motives were partly political, he wanted to prevent religious infighting that could divide his empire. His actions also shaped the future of Christianity, ensuring that the faith would be unified under one set of beliefs. Constantine's leadership in both military and religious matters led to the consolidation of Christianity within the Roman Empire. By the time of his death in 337 AD, Christianity had firmly entrenched itself as the empire's dominant religion. Constantine's legacy was so profound that his successors continued to follow in his footsteps, with many adopting Christianity as the state religion. Constantine's actions laid the groundwork for the Christianization of Europe, and his reign marked the beginning of the end for traditional Roman paganism. Despite his profound influence, Constantine's actions were not without controversies. Some argue that Constantine's conversion to Christianity was politically motivated, a move to unify the empire and secure his reign. Others believe that Constantine was genuinely moved by his faith, and that his decisions were based on divine guidance. Either way, there's no denying that Constantine's reign had a lasting impact on both the Roman Empire and the spread of Christianity. His embrace of the Christian faith didn't just reshape the empire, it also set the stage for the rise of a new religious order that would change the world. In the centuries that followed Constantine's reign, the empire continued to grow in Christian influence. The Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantine Empire, became a stronghold for Christianity, and the West saw the rise of powerful Christian monarchs. Constantine's legacy lived on in these empires, as Christianity continued to spread and shape the world in ways that were unimaginable during the early days of the Roman Empire. The story of Constantine is one of power, faith, and transformation. And to Christianity was not just a personal act, it was a political maneuver that changed the course of history. By making Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire, Constantine ensured that the faith would continue to grow and influence the world for centuries to come. His legacy is not just about the empire he ruled, but the way he shaped the future of Christianity and its place in the world. Constantine's reign is a powerful reminder of how one person's vision can change the world. His decisions not only transformed the Roman Empire, but also laid the foundation for the rise of Christianity as a dominant force in the Western world. Today, as we look back at Constantine's legacy, we see how his actions continue to influence our world. From the rise of Christian kingdoms to the enduring presence of Christianity in global politics, Constantine's impact can still be felt. His story is a testament to the power of belief, the strength of vision, and the enduring influence of one man's decisions. As we reflect on Constantine's life and legacy, we must ask ourselves, how can his story inspire us today to challenge the status quo, embrace new ideas, and create a legacy that will last for generations? Perhaps, like Constantine, we can all leave behind a legacy that shapes the world in ways we never imagined. Constantine's reign is one of the most transformative in Roman history. When he took power, the empire was deeply divided, torn between traditional Roman polytheism and the growing influence of Christianity. His actions, most notably his decision to embrace Christianity, changed the course of the empire. But how did this shift from paganism to Christianity take place, and what impact did it have on the empire's future? Constantine's journey to embracing Christianity was both a personal and political move. In 313 AD, he issued the Edict of Milan, which legalized Christianity and ended centuries of persecution against Christians. This monumental decision marked a turning point not only for the Christian faith, but for the Roman Empire itself. But what motivated Constantine to make such a bold move? It wasn't just about personal belief. Constantine understood the power of unity. The Roman Empire was a vast, multi-ethnic empire, and Constantine knew that religious cohesion could help unite his fractured rule. He saw in Christianity a force that could bring together the empire and strengthen its power. By supporting Christianity, Constantine was ensuring that his empire would be united under a single belief system, one that could transcend the divisions of the old Roman gods. This was not without controversy, however. Constantine's shift from paganism to Christianity, coupled with his role as a political leader, raised important questions about the separation of church and state. Was Constantine's embrace of Christianity a true religious conversion, or was it a strategic political move? Did Constantine genuinely believe in Christ, or was he simply using the faith as a tool to strengthen his power? Constantine's personal conversion was pivotal, but the impact on the Roman military was equally profound. The Roman army, long devoted to the traditional gods, now began to align itself with the Christian faith. Constantine encouraged his soldiers to adopt Christian symbols and teachings, thus merging the military with the new religion. This was a major shift, as the Roman military had been rooted in pagan traditions for centuries. One of the most iconic moments in this religious transformation came during the Battle of Milvian Bridge in 312 AD. Before the battle, Constantine had a vision. He saw a cross in the sky with the words, "In this sign, conquer." This vision led him to order his soldiers to mark their shields with the Christian symbol of the Chyro. Constantine attributed his victory to the divine intervention of the Christian God, and this moment solidified his belief in the power of Christianity. But did this victory really come from divine intervention, or was it simply a matter of military strategy? The answer is more complicated than it appears. Constantine's victory at Milvian Bridge not only changed the course of his reign, but also helped to solidify Christianity's place in the Roman world. He saw the success of his army under the Christian banner as proof of divine favor. His decision to convert and baptize his army set the stage for Christianity to become the dominant force in the Roman Empire, forever altering its course. But Constantine's impact did not end with the army. In 325 AD, he convened the Council of Nicaea, a landmark moment in Christian history. This council aimed to resolve theological disputes within the Christian church, including the nature of Christ and the official date of Easter. Constantine's involvement in the council was not just a matter of faith, it was a matter of politics. By seeking to unify the Christian church, Constantine aimed to bring religious unity to his empire, ensuring that it would remain stable and cohesive. The Council of Nicaea produced the Nicene Creed, a statement of Christian belief that would shape Christian doctrine for centuries to come. Constantine's influence on this document cannot be understated. While his motivations may have been both political and religious, the legacy of the Nicene Creed became central to Christian theology. Constantine's role in shaping the early Christian church cemented his legacy as a key figure in the history of Christianity. In the years following Constantine's reign, the Roman Empire continued to grow in Christian influence. Under his leadership, Christianity went from being a persecuted religion to becoming the state religion of the empire. His policies ensured that the faith would continue to grow, and by the time of his death in 337 AD, Christianity had firmly entrenched itself in the empire. But what lasting impact did Constantine's decisions have on the empire? Constantine's legacy can be seen in the way the Roman Empire embraced Christianity as its foundation. The empire, once a bastion of pagan worship, now became a powerful Christian state. Constantine's policies set the stage for the Christianization of Europe, a process that would continue long after his death. The Eastern Roman Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire, became a stronghold of Christianity, and the West saw the rise of Christian monarchies. The rise of Christianity in the Roman Empire also meant a shift in social norms. Pagan temples were replaced with Christian churches, and the moral values of Christianity began to shape the legal and social fabric of the empire. The rise of Christian leaders in Roman courts and politics marked a major change in the power dynamics of the empire. Christian ethics and values became the foundation of Roman society, and the emperor's role was increasingly seen through a religious lens. Constantine's reign also marked the beginning of a shift in the role of the emperor. No longer was the emperor just a political leader. He was seen as a protector of the Christian faith. Constantine's embrace of Christianity set the precedent for future emperors who would continue to claim divine favor and authority. The emperor became not just a ruler of the empire, but a leader of the Christian church as well. As we reflect on Constantine's legacy, we must ask ourselves how his reign shaped the future of both the Roman Empire and Christianity. His decisions not only transformed the empire, but also set the stage for the rise of Christianity as a dominant force in the Western world. Constantine's conversion, his policies, and his actions helped shape the course of history in ways that are still felt today. His reign is a testament to the power of belief, the strength of vision, and the lasting impact of one man's decisions. Constantine's influence on the Roman Empire and Christianity cannot be overstated. His reign marked a pivotal moment in history, and his actions would shape the future of the empire for centuries to come. Whether seen as a religious conversion or a political move, Constantine's embrace of Christianity was a decisive moment in history, and it changed the course of the Roman Empire forever. Constantine's rise to power was nothing short of extraordinary, but it wasn't just military might that elevated him to emperor. In 313 AD, Constantine issued the Edict of Milan, legalizing Christianity and ending centuries of persecution of Christians in the Roman Empire. But why did he take this unprecedented step? Most people think it was simply a religious conversion, but the truth is, Constantine's embrace of Christianity was a strategic political move that transformed the Roman Empire forever. Before Constantine, the Roman Empire had been deeply divided, religiously, politically, and socially. Paganism was still the dominant religion, and the army was deeply rooted in traditional Roman deities. Christianity, while growing in influence, was still a persecuted faith. So how did Constantine change this? He didn't just embrace Christianity, he used it as a tool to unify a fractured empire. But what does it mean when an emperor becomes not just a ruler, but also a religious figure? Constantine's newfound faith didn't just shape his own destiny, it changed the course of the entire Roman Empire. Empire. His conversion to Christianity wasn't a simple personal decision. It had profound political and military ramifications. By uniting the empire under the Christian faith, Constantine secured his legacy as not just the first Christian emperor, but as a leader who played a central role in the Christianization of the empire. But the story behind Constantine's rise to power is more complex than most realize. Let's explore how this transformation unfolded. The first significant moment in Constantine's religious shift occurred on the eve of the Battle of the Milvian Bridge in 312 AD. Constantine had a vision in the sky, a symbol of the cross, with a voice saying, "In this sign, conquer." This vision would change his life and the history of the Roman Empire. At that moment, Constantine decided to fight under the Christian banner, marking his soldiers with the Christian symbol. But was it a divine vision or a tactical move? Many historians argue that Constantine's vision was as much about military strategy as it was about faith. Regardless of his personal beliefs, he understood the power of symbolism and what it could do for his army. Constantine's victory at the Battle of Milvian Bridge was a turning point, not only for his reign but also for Christianity in the Roman Empire. Constantine's army, though outnumbered, won the battle, and he attributed his victory to divine intervention. This was no small claim. The fact that Constantine could point to his faith as the reason for his success was a powerful message, one that solidified his belief in the power of Christianity. But what effect did Constantine's religious transformation have on the Roman military? For centuries, Roman soldiers had served under the auspices of Roman gods and traditional religious rituals. Yet Constantine made an audacious decision to baptize his army spiritually by encouraging them to adopt Christian symbols and beliefs. He wasn't just converting individuals, he was shifting the identity of the entire military. By marking themselves with the Chyro, a Christian symbol, Constantine's army became not only a political force but also a religious one. Despite the significance of these actions, there was also a deep political and military calculation behind Constantine's decisions. His army wasn't just being converted in a religious sense, it was being forged into a unified force under a single cohesive belief system. The Chyro symbol became more than just a religious emblem. It was a rallying point for Constantine's soldiers. They were no longer just fighting for the empire but for a higher cause. This shift laid the foundation for Christianity to rise as a unifying force in a divided empire. Constantine's victory led to more than just a shift in the military. It set the stage for the Christianization of the entire Roman Empire. Shortly after his victory, Constantine declared that Christianity should be practiced openly, free from the fear of persecutions. But was this truly a moment of conversion for Constantine, or was it a political maneuver designed to solidify his power? Some argue that Constantine's embrace of Christianity was a strategic move to unify his empire and secure the loyalty of his subjects. Regardless of his personal beliefs, his actions changed the trajectory of history. One of the most pivotal decisions Constantine made was the Edict of Milan, issued in 313 AD. This edict legalized Christianity throughout the Roman Empire, guaranteeing religious freedom for Christians and marking the official end of their persecution. This wasn't just a change in religious policy, it was a direct challenge to the traditional Roman religious practices. By legalizing Christianity, Constantine sent a powerful message to the empire. The old gods were no longer the sole focus of Roman life. This move fundamentally altered the fabric of Roman society, shifting its religious center from the pagan gods to the Christian god. The Edict of Milan was a game changer for Christianity. What was once a persecuted religion became an official part of Roman life. Constantine's support helped Christian communities grow, and churches began to be built throughout the empire. Constantine didn't just stop at legalizing Christianity, he actively supported it. He funded the construction of churches, and religious figures within Christianity gained newfound prominence. Constantine's actions not only legitimized Christianity but also ensured its growth and influence in the empire. Constantine's reign also set the stage for the first ecumenical council in Christian history, the Council of Nicaea. In 325 AD, Constantine convened bishops from across the empire to address key theological issues and unify the Christian doctrine. One of the most significant outcomes of the Council of Nicaea was the creation of the Nicene Creed, which outlined the fundamental beliefs of Christianity. Constantine played an active role in this process, not just as a religious leader but as a political figure who saw the unification of Christian doctrine as a means of unifying his empire. So how did Constantine's embrace of Christianity affect his role as emperor? Constantine's newfound faith elevated his status from just a political leader to a religious figure. He was no longer just the ruler of the Roman Empire. He was also seen as a protector of the Christian faith. This shift in perception was monumental. The emperor, once seen as the guardian of Roman gods, was now the guardian of Christian beliefs. His reign laid the foundation for the emperor's role as a religious figure, a trend that would continue throughout the history of the Byzantine Empire. Constantine's reign also set the stage for the church-state relationship that would shape Europe for centuries. He promoted the idea that church and state could work together to create a unified society. However, this partnership between church and state wasn't without its tensions. Constantine's decisions on religious matters, from his conversion to his active involvement in church affairs, laid the groundwork for future conflicts between the two institutions. His reign marked the beginning of a new era, one where religion and politics were deeply intertwined. Constantine's embrace of Christianity also had a profound impact on the Roman military. By integrating Christian symbols into the military and aligning his army with Christian beliefs, Constantine created a force that was not only powerful in battle, but also spiritually united. This shift in the military's identity was a critical part of Constantine's strategy to solidify his rule and ensure loyalty among his soldiers. As we look at Constantine's legacy, it's clear that his reign was a turning point for both the Roman Empire and Christianity. His actions helped Christianity move from being a persecuted faith to the dominant religion of the empire. Constantine's support and policies ensured that Christianity would continue to thrive, shaping the future of both the empire and the world. His reign was a true turning point in history, one that continues to have lasting effects to this day. How did Constantine's military reforms and Christianity blend so seamlessly? It wasn't just a change in belief, it was a strategic move that altered the Roman Empire's future. The significance of Christianity within the Roman military wasn't just symbolic, it was transformational. Constantine's integration of Christian principles into the Roman army didn't just change the culture of his forces, it redefined what it meant to fight for the empire. Constantine's army had always followed traditional Roman religious practices. Roman soldiers typically revered the pantheon of gods, Mars, Jupiter, and Venus, gods of war, leadership, and fertility. These deities had stood as the spiritual backbone of the empire's military prowess for centuries. So when Constantine ordered that Christian symbols be adopted by the army, it was not only an unusual move, it was a shocking departure from tradition. The Chyro symbol became central to the new military identity Constantine was forging. Soldiers were now marking their shields and armor with this Christian monogram, signaling not only allegiance to the emperor, but also their faith in the Christian God. This was a profound change. Religious loyalty was now being directly linked to military identity. This act created a new dynamic. Christianity wasn't just a private belief, it was a public declaration of unity, purpose, and power. But why did Constantine do this? Some may argue that it was a purely spiritual move, but there was much more at play. Constantine understood that by aligning his soldiers with a single faith, he could unify his army and strengthen their resolve. With the Christian God on their side, his soldiers were no longer simply mercenaries for the Roman Empire. They were warriors for a cause greater than themselves. Now, the idea of Christian soldiers as elite might surprise you. The Roman military, historically diverse in its religious beliefs, began to see an infusion of Christian soldiers into the ranks. Many of Constantine's top generals, who were originally from pagan traditions, began to embrace Christianity, and the military elite increasingly became a force driven not just by tactical excellence, but by their shared faith. This wasn't just about religious conversion, it was about creating a cohesive, motivated force that could push forward Constantine's vision for the Roman Empire. This shift in the military's religious alignment had a ripple effect. It influenced the way soldiers viewed their place within the empire. No longer just following the emperor's commands, they were now part of a divine plan, with the Chyro symbol marking them as chosen warriors of the Christian faith. It also meant that those who fought for Constantine's vision were seen as not just warriors, but defenders of the new order, protectors of the Christianized Roman Empire. This shift also had a strategic element. Constantine's army had always been an impressive force, but it lacked the ideological cohesion that a shared religious belief could offer. Before Constantine, the Roman army had been strong, but it was divided in many ways. The soldiers followed a variety of gods and deities depending on their origins, and that created a fragmented sense of loyalty. By introducing Christianity, Constantine solidified the loyalty of his troops under a single belief system, effectively binding them together. The Christian symbols were more than just a mark of faith. They were a unifying banner under which all could rally. The question remains, how did this integration of Christian principles change the future of Roman battles? The answer is simple. It created a more cohesive force that fought with a sense of purpose beyond mere survival or conquest. Battles like the Battle of Milvian Bridge would prove that faith could be just as powerful as tactics. Constantine's soldiers were not merely fighting for the empire, they were fighting for the glory of God. And when Constantine's army, against all odds, defeated the forces of Maxentius, the victory was framed not just as a military triumph, but as a divine victory. Constantine's reforms were also practical. The inclusion of Christianity in the military wasn't just about the symbolism, it also had concrete benefits for the empire. Christian soldiers, who often came from diverse backgrounds and had previously been outsiders, now had a sense of identity within the army. They weren't just mercenaries, they were part of a divine mission. This was a strategic maneuver, uniting disparate groups within the empire under the banner of one common faith, which in turn unified the military and enhanced its loyalty. It wasn't only the soldiers who underwent a transformation. Constantine himself began to use the religious identity of the army to shape his image as a ruler. By aligning himself with the Christian faith, he not only gained the loyalty of his Christian soldiers, but also gained the respect of a growing Christian population within the empire. Constantine wasn't just the emperor, he was the defender of the faith, the divinely chosen ruler who had brought peace and prosperity to the empire through the power of Christianity. Looking at the broader impact, Constantine's integration of Christianity into the the military marked the beginning of a new era for the Roman army and the empire as a whole. His reforms reshaped not just the military but the political landscape of Rome. By intertwining Christian doctrine with the Roman military structure, Constantine created a precedent for future emperors. The emperor wasn't just a political leader anymore, he was a spiritual figure too. This shift would continue long after Constantine's reign, influencing the way emperors would rule and how Christianity would evolve within the Roman Empire. However, Constantine's decision didn't come without its challenges. For many within the Roman elite, the introduction of Christianity was a hard pill to swallow. The traditional Roman gods had been the foundation of Roman power for centuries, and to turn away from them was seen by some as sacrilege. Yet Constantine pressed forward, determined to make Christianity the bedrock of his empire's future. His decisions didn't just reshape the military, they reshaped the Roman identity itself. By making Christianity an integral part of Roman life, Constantine ensured that Christianity would not only survive but thrive within the empire. But was this purely a religious move, or was it a brilliant political strategy to secure his reign and unite a fractured empire? It's clear that Constantine's military reforms, combined with his personal embrace of Christianity, were a masterstroke in unifying both his army and the empire. The legacy of his decisions shaped the future of both the Roman Empire and Christianity itself, marking the rise of a new era, one where the emperor's authority was not just political but divine. This transformation of the Roman military and society marked the beginning of the Christianized Roman Empire, which would influence history for centuries to come. How did the rise of Christianity reshape Roman society? The growth of Christianity within the Roman Empire wasn't just a religious shift, it was a full cultural revolution, altering the political landscape, the arts, and everyday life. Constantine's reign played a pivotal role in this transformation, creating a new Roman world where Christianity wasn't just tolerated, it was championed. The first significant shift came with Constantine's policy changes. As he embraced Christianity, the emperor led by example, making the faith not just acceptable but desirable. Constantine's policies were revolutionary in that they allowed Christianity to flourish in a society that had previously been hostile to it. This wasn't a mere allowance, it was an endorsement. He went beyond the Edict of Milan, which legalized Christianity by putting Christian leaders in positions of power and wealth. These moves marked a clear departure from the past, where Christianity had been persecuted and viewed with suspicion by the state. Christianity's spread didn't happen overnight though. It had been slowly gaining followers in the Roman Empire for centuries. However, Constantine's patronage dramatically accelerated its growth. The establishment of Christian churches across the empire became widespread, and where pagan temples once stood, magnificent Christian structures began to rise. The arts and public life began to reflect Christian values as well. The classical art style, which was once rooted in pagan traditions, shifted toward Christian themes, with depictions of biblical stories replacing the gods and goddesses of Roman religion. Social norms were also deeply affected by the rise of Christianity. Christian teachings about charity, humility, and the sanctity of life became central to Roman law. The Christian ethos of caring for the poor and the sick found a place in Roman society, fostering new ways of thinking about governance and civic duty. This wasn't just about faith, it was about changing how people viewed their responsibilities to each other. The church became not only a religious institution but also a social one, involved in everything from charity work to education, and it gained unprecedented influence in the empire's political arena. But was this change inevitable? Some scholars argue that the shift from Roman polytheism to Christianity was unavoidable, given the growing appeal of Christianity and its messages of hope and eternal life, especially in an empire that had been beset by corruption and military strife. Yet others suggest that Constantine's personal faith and political maneuvering accelerated a change that could have otherwise been slower or even resisted. After all, not everyone in the empire was happy with this dramatic shift. Even the concept of conversion became more complex under Constantine. He was baptized late in life, and some historians question the sincerity of his faith, suggesting that his embrace of Christianity was as much a political strategy as it was a spiritual one. By uniting the empire under Christianity, Constantine not only solidified his own power but ensured that the empire could rally around a common religious identity. However, this move didn't come without conflict. Pagan beliefs didn't simply disappear overnight. Resistance to Christianization remained, especially in the empire's more traditional regions, and Constantine's successors would continue to navigate the tension between the old ways and the new Christian order. The replacement of pagan practices with Christian ones also had lasting cultural impacts. In some ways, the Romans had defined their identity through their gods and rituals, which shaped everything from public ceremonies to holidays. As Christianity spread, it slowly began to replace these ancient practices. For example, Christmas, which replaced the Roman festival of Saturnalia, became one of the most significant Christian holidays, blending old Roman traditions with new Christian ones. Christianity also began to influence Roman law. Pagan practices like gladiatorial games and the exposure of unwanted infants were outlawed, reflecting Christian values about human dignity and the sanctity of life. Christianity's influence in the political realm grew, with bishops gaining more power and the emperor's role becoming tied not only to governance but also to religious matters. matters. The church had a powerful voice in the decisions that shaped the future of the empire, which gave Christianity a permanence that it had never had before. Was the transformation of Roman society inevitable, or could it have been avoided? Christianity's rise within the empire was deeply tied to the political maneuvering of Constantine, but the cultural shift was not solely his doing. Christianity's core values spoke to many of the social issues that plagued the Roman Empire, like inequality and the moral decay of the ruling classes. The Roman Empire, which had already been struggling with corruption and a crumbling military, found in Christianity a unifying force that gave its citizens hope, moral guidance, and a new way of understanding the world. In the wake of Constantine's reign, the social fabric of the empire continued to shift. Christian leaders were now a prominent part of the Roman political structure, and the religious influence that Constantine had introduced did not go away. Instead, it deepened. Even in the decline of the Western Roman Empire, Christianity continued to grow, influencing not only Europe but the entire world. Power structures Constantine helped to build allowed the church to thrive even as the Roman Empire disintegrated. The church would go on to shape the future of Europe in ways Constantine could only begin to imagine. Looking at the rise of Christianity in Roman society, it is clear that Constantine didn't just change the religious landscape. He reshaped the political, cultural, and social realms of the empire. His decision to embrace Christianity and integrate it into Roman life set in motion a series of events that would not only change the Roman Empire, but also the entire course of Western civilization. Christianity, which had been a small persecuted sect, now became the dominant force in the empire, a force that would go on to shape the future of Europe and the Western world for centuries. How did Christianity's rise influence Roman society and politics? It reshaped the empire in ways few could have anticipated, leaving lasting legacies that defined the future of Western civilization. Constantine's decisions. The Roman Empire was forced to adapt in profound ways, not just religiously, but culturally, politically, and socially. Christianity's explosive growth after Constantine's reign transformed Roman culture beyond recognition. The shift didn't just change the practices of the people, it shifted the very foundation of what it meant to be Roman. The influence of the Christian faith spread far into art, law, and public life. Where once pagan temples dominated the landscape, they were now replaced with Christian churches, each one becoming not only a place of worship, but a cultural and political hub. This wasn't merely about changing the architecture. Social norms across the empire began to reflect Christian values. In a society once built around the veneration of many gods, the Christian ethical teachings, emphasizing charity, compassion, and personal responsibility, began to pervade public life. Laws were reformed to reflect the values of the faith, and new festivals rooted in Christian beliefs began to take the place of pagan ones. Even the social hierarchy was impacted, as the Christian doctrine of equality before God directly challenged the old Roman ideas of class and status. But did this transformation happen because of Constantine's reforms, or was it a process already in motion? Many argue that Christianity's rise would have occurred regardless of Constantine's political maneuvering, considering the faith's appeal and its spread throughout the empire. However, Constantine's political and religious decisions accelerated this transition in ways that were deeply tied to the empire's survival. Christianity's rise also gave Christian leaders a newfound power, extending beyond the realm of the church and into politics. As the emperor aligned himself with the Christian faith, Christian bishops and clergy found themselves in a position of influence at court. They were no longer just religious figures. They became key players in the political landscape. By the time of Constantine's death, Christian leaders were firmly embedded in the social and political structures of the empire, securing the faith's future as a dominant force. Was the shift in Roman society inevitable, or did Constantine's involvement speed up a process that could have otherwise taken much longer? Many argue that Christianity's message of salvation would have resonated in the empire regardless. Constantine's role in endorsing Christianity and embedding it within the Roman state's power structure was crucial. Forcing pagan traditions to adapt or face decline. Christianity's rise also brought a profound change to the cultural identity of the Roman Empire. The ancient pagan practices that had once been the glue binding Roman culture were gradually replaced by Christian ideals. The Roman Empire was no longer simply a collection of diverse gods, but a unified Christian state. The culture became increasingly focused on Christian values, even as the empire itself began to fracture and crumble. This shift in values was reflected in everything from public ceremonies to the arts. But could this transformation have been avoided? Was Constantine's embrace of Christianity merely a pragmatic choice for political stability, or was it part of a larger divine plan? Constantine's personal conversion may have been part strategic move. The way he merged religious reform with political authority suggests that the rise of Christianity in the Roman Empire was not just a political decision. It was part of the eventual evolution of an empire at a crossroads. What might have happened had Constantine not embraced Christianity remains an intriguing historical question. Christianity's growing influence over Roman society and politics didn't stop with Constantine's reforms. His reign set in motion a series of cultural shifts that would continue to unfold for centuries. Transition from Roman polytheism to Christianity wasn't just a religious change. It was a redefinition of Roman identity. Through Constantine's policies, Christianity became a central part of the Roman worldview, influencing everything from governance to social welfare. The support of the emperor, Christianity began to flourish not just in Rome but throughout the empire. Constantine's patronage of the faith allowed the church to gain influence in regions where it had previously been persecuted. It's difficult to imagine how the empire and the world would have evolved without Constantine's actions. His policies established a foundation for Christianity that would last well into the Middle Ages, forever changing the course of history. As the empire's political landscape shifted, the role of the emperor also changed. No longer simply a ruler of an empire, Constantine was seen as the protector of Christianity, a divine figure whose role went beyond secular governance. His conversion to Christianity allowed him to bridge the gap between the pagan past of the empire and the Christian future that lay ahead. The rise of Christianity in the Roman Empire was not just a religious phenomenon, it was a cultural revolution that touched every aspect of Roman life. The transformation of Roman society under Constantine's reign was profound, reshaping the way people thought about their identity, their faith, and their relationship with the emperor. The legacy of Constantine's decisions continues to be felt today, not just in religion but in the political, social, and cultural systems of the Western world. By the time Constantine's reign came to a close, the empire had irrevocably changed. What began as a personal conversion to Christianity had evolved into a comprehensive restructuring of the Roman state. Christianity was no longer a fringe movement but a central part of Roman life, politics, and culture. Constantine's actions set the stage for the rise of the Christian church as a powerful force within the empire, a legacy that would endure for centuries. In many ways, Constantine's reign marked a turning point for both the Roman Empire and Christianity. His leadership and vision laid the groundwork for the Christianization of the empire, and his policies shaped the future of Europe and the Western world. Christianity, once a persecuted religion, had become a dominant force in Roman society, and the empire itself was transformed in ways that would be felt for generations to come. The Roman Empire's embrace of Christianity brought with it not just a spiritual transformation, but a complete reshaping of Roman society. The transition from a polytheistic culture to one dominated by Christian values wasn't just a religious shift, it was cultural, political, and societal. But was it inevitable, or could it have been avoided? Christianity's rapid growth following Constantine's reign radically altered the Roman world. Pagan temples, once the centers of Roman civic and religious life, were replaced with Christian churches. This shift wasn't just about architecture, it signified the triumph of a new worldview. As churches rose, so did the prominence of Christian leaders in Roman society, many of whom gained unprecedented influence in both religious and political spheres. These bishops and clergy weren't just spiritual figures, they became key players in the empire's governance, a surprising development considering that Christianity had been officially persecuted just decades earlier. What caused this dramatic shift? It's easy to think that Constantine's support of Christianity was the sole cause, but the rise of Christianity had already begun, thanks to the efforts of early missionaries and the faith's appeal to a broad swath of Roman society. However, Constantine's endorsement gave Christianity a massive boost, allowing it to flourish in previously hostile territories. Through Constantine's policies, Christian teachings became ingrained in the Roman legal system, and public ceremonies began to reflect the faith's values. Christianity was no longer a subculture, it was becoming the dominant force in Roman public life. This influence wasn't just limited to religion, social norms shifted as well. Christian ethics, with their emphasis on compassion, charity, and humility, began to shape the moral compass of Roman society. Laws and customs began to reflect these values, often to the dismay of those who still clung to the old pagan traditions. The transition wasn't seamless. The old guard of Roman society resisted, but it was clear that a new order was emerging. Pagan beliefs, once so deeply rooted in Roman identity, were gradually eclipsed by Christian teachings. The growing power of the Christian church also meant that social classes were redefined. Christian teachings about the inherent equality of all people before God began to challenge the old Roman notions of hierarchy. This was a radical shift in a society built on social stratification, and it created friction. The emperor was no longer just a political figure, but a moral leader, seen as the protector of Christianity. Constantine's vision, one that combined the empire's political power with Christian authority, would influence future emperors and shape the course of Roman politics for centuries. But was this transformation inevitable? Many argue that the rise of Christianity was a natural outgrowth of Roman society's struggles. The Roman Empire had become overstretched, and its pagan roots had become increasingly hollow. The Roman pantheon had lost its luster, while Christianity offered an inclusive, hope-filled message that resonated deeply with people from all walks of life. Constantine's policies only accelerated a process that was already underway. The fact that this transformation happened during Constantine's reign is a testament to his vision. While many see Constantine as the sole catalyst for Christianity's rise, the truth is that the religion's rise had started well before his reign. Constantine, however, provided it with the tools to spread across the empire, tools that made the Roman state and the Christian church deeply intertwined. By creating a state religion that enforced Christian values, Constantine laid the groundwork for the eventual Christianization of the entire empire. His legacy would be felt for centuries, as the Christian church would come to define the Roman Empire, even as it fractured and fell. What made the transition from paganism to Christianity so profound transformed was not just the religious aspect, but the social and political reordering that came with it. Constantine's decision set in motion a fundamental change in how Romans saw their empire. Pagan gods, once honored and revered in the temples and festivals of the Roman calendar, were replaced with a singular god whose teachings influenced every aspect of Roman life. What's more, this transition wasn't just limited to the public sphere. Christianity's rise influenced the private lives of Romans as well. Christian values permeated family life, social customs, and relationships. The idea that people were equal in the eyes of God led to greater emphasis on care for the poor, the sick, and the downtrodden. Charity became not just a Christian duty, but a social expectation. It wasn't just about religious conversion. It was about creating a whole new way of life that affected every level of society. As Christianity spread, so did its influence on Roman law and governance. Early Christian thinkers, many of whom held important positions within the church, began to shape the legal framework of the empire. Constantine's policies ensured that Christian teachings were embedded in the laws of the land, leading to sweeping reforms. The laws against infanticide, the promotion of the Sabbath as a day of rest, and the gradual reduction of gladiatorial games were all products of a Christianized state. By the time Constantine died, the transformation of the empire was well underway. What had started as a small sect of believers became the backbone of the Roman Empire. Christian leaders were no longer persecuted, but held immense power within Roman society. The emperor, once a figurehead of the pagan state, had become a defender of the Christian faith, securing the future of Christianity for generations to come. Could this transformation have been avoided? Some argue that if not for Constantine's policies, Christianity may have remained a minor persecuted sect. Others believe that Christianity would have eventually overtaken paganism due to its appeal and the growing dissatisfaction with traditional Roman religious practices. The truth is likely somewhere in between. Constantine's actions were pivotal in ensuring that Christianity would not only survive but thrive. His decisions provided the framework for a Christianized empire, one that would reshape the future of Europe and the Western world. As we look back at the rise of Christianity in the Roman Empire, we can see how deeply intertwined religion, politics, and society were. Constantine's reign marked the beginning of a new era, one in which the Roman state and the Christian church were inseparable. Transformation from a pagan empire to a Christian one was not just a shift in religious belief, it was a reorganization of the empire's values, culture, and worldview. Constantine's reign marked a dramatic turning point not just for the Roman Empire but for the entire world. His legacy is inseparable from the Christianization of the Roman world, but how did his actions shape the future of Roman emperors and their relationship with both the church and state? The most surprising aspect of Constantine's reign was how his actions set the stage for a lasting partnership between church and state. His decisions not only laid the foundation for Christian theology, but also redefined the role of the emperor. Constantine wasn't just a ruler in the traditional Roman sense. He was now both a political and religious leader. This transformation was unprecedented. The emperor's influence reached far beyond military conquests and governance. Constantine's legacy created a blueprint for future emperors to follow, one in which religious authority played as critical a role as political power. His successors, starting with his sons, would continue to navigate this new reality. Constantine's direct intervention in religious matters, such as his support for the Christian church and his hand in defining Christian doctrine, ensured that Christianity would remain the central force in the empire. But the church-state relationship wasn't always harmonious. Although Constantine's reign saw the integration of Christianity into Roman life, this new alliance between the church and emperor would prove to be a double-edged sword. As future emperors claimed their divine right to rule, tensions would arise. Political and religious power would often clash, leading to bitter conflicts over the role of the church in state affairs. Constantine had not created a utopia for future rulers. He had created a delicate balance that would often be tested. What's fascinating is that Constantine's vision didn't just influence the first generation of Christian emperors. His influence continued long after his death. Emperors like Theodosius I followed Constantine's lead by strengthening the Christian faith within the empire. These emperors too would find themselves embroiled in the very conflicts Constantine had to face during his reign. Struggles over church authority, theological disputes, and the emperor's role in spiritual matters. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Constantine's lasting impact on Roman emperors was the shift in their role. The emperor had traditionally been seen as a secular figure, ruling over an empire of gods and men. Now, however, emperors were increasingly seen as defenders of the Christian faith, holding a dual role that straddled both political and religious power. This would become the norm for centuries, with emperors claiming not just secular authority but divine backing. In fact, the idea of the emperor as a divine figure would evolve over time, deeply influencing the imperial system and the way emperors interacted with the church. Constantine's reign marked the beginning of the emperor's divine right to rule, a concept that would be used by his successors to justify their actions and control over both the church and the state. This idea would later be echoed in the Byzantine Empire, where emperors saw themselves as God's appointed rulers on earth. The relationship between the emperor and the church became so intertwined that it was nearly impossible to separate one from the other. As centuries passed, this delicate balance of of power would be tested in ways Constantine could never have predicted, but it all started with Constantine's vision, a vision that transformed the Roman Empire from a pagan stronghold into a Christianized world. However, this transformation did not happen overnight. Even after Constantine's death, the power struggle between the church and the state continued to shape the empire. The influence of bishops and church leaders continued to grow, with many asserting their authority over secular rulers. While Constantine had established a precedent for church-state unity, he could not fully predict the political chaos that would arise as the church and state vied for control. One of the most enduring elements of Constantine's legacy was his establishment of Christianity as the dominant force in Roman society. In the years following his reign, the empire would experience several changes, both socially and politically, that made Christianity central to the empire's survival. The church had become not just a religious institution but a political one, influencing laws, policies, and the moral framework of society. Perhaps the most enduring influence Constantine had on future emperors was how they would navigate this relationship. Over time, many emperors would adopt Constantine's model, seeking the church support to legitimize their rule. Yet, as history would show, this alliance would not always be smooth. Emperors would find themselves caught in theological disputes, political power struggles, and the constant tension between secular and spiritual authority. But no matter the challenges, Constantine's vision of a Christian empire had laid the groundwork for a new era in Roman history. His reign marked the end of an era of pagan worship and the beginning of a new religious and political order. It was an era where emperors and bishops worked hand in hand, where the emperor's divine right was intertwined with the power of the church, and where the Christian faith would become the foundation of the Roman Empire for centuries to come. The future of Roman emperors then was irrevocably altered. Constantine's actions reshaped not just the empire, but the course of Western civilization. His reign set the stage for the rise of the Byzantine Empire, a Christian stronghold that would continue for over 1,000 years. Even after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, Constantine's legacy endured, influencing the rulers of medieval Europe and beyond. The shift in the role of the emperor that Constantine set in motion also had profound implications for the political structure of the empire. No longer was the emperor merely a political leader, he was now also a spiritual leader. This dual role would carry with it immense power, but also immense responsibility. And as future emperors would discover, the line between politics and religion would blur in ways that Constantine could never have fully anticipated. The impact of Constantine's reign cannot be overstated. His decision to adopt Christianity and make it the official religion of the empire was a pivotal moment in history. It marked the end of one era and the beginning of another, a new era where the emperor's divine right to rule was no longer just about power, but about serving as a protector of the Christian faith. His actions created a lasting legacy that would continue to shape the course of history for centuries, with each new emperor trying to navigate the delicate balance he had established. The role of the emperor would never be the same again, and neither would the Roman Empire. After Constantine's death, the legacy of his reign continued to shape the trajectory of the Roman Empire for centuries. His influence, particularly in terms of the Christianization of the empire, left an indelible mark on future emperors and how they navigated the complex relationship between church and state. But what happened to the empire after Constantine passed away? Did his reforms continue to hold sway, or did the empire gradually move away from his vision? One thing is clear: Constantine's death did not diminish the influence of Christianity on the Roman Empire. In fact, the Christian faith would continue to spread and grow in strength, especially within the Eastern Roman Empire, which later became known as the Byzantine Empire. The Eastern Roman Empire, centered around Constantinople, the city Constantine founded, would remain a stronghold for Christianity for over 1,000 years. In this context, Constantine's role in laying the foundations of the Christian Empire proved crucial, but the Western Roman Empire, which Constantine had ruled over, was a different story. The decline of the Western Roman Empire had begun even before Constantine's death, and it accelerated in the years that followed. However, even as the empire fragmented, Christianity remained a central force. The bishops of Rome, and particularly the Pope, would rise in influence and authority, filling the power vacuum left by the fading political authority of the emperors. Despite the challenges faced by the Western Roman Empire, Constantine's reforms continued to hold significance for the future of the empire and its people. His vision of a Christianized Roman world had set a precedent that would affect not just the empire's politics, but also its cultural and social structures. Constantine's decision to make Christianity the state religion created a foundation upon which later emperors would build. His reforms gave rise to a new identity for the Roman Empire, one that was centered around the Christian faith and its values. But what does this mean for the long-term survival of the empire? In many ways, Constantine's legacy helped the Roman Empire endure much longer than it otherwise might have. By making Christianity the official religion, Constantine ensured that the empire had a unifying force. Even in times of political chaos, the Christian faith provided a moral framework that could be used to justify imperial authority and govern the empire in times of crisis. On the other hand, Constantine's vision also created tensions within the empire. As the Western Roman Empire declined and eventually fell, many of the tensions between the church and state became more pronounced. The growing power of the Christian church and its leaders began to challenge challenge the authority of the emperor. In the centuries after Constantine, this relationship would continue to evolve, sometimes peacefully and sometimes violently. Yet, despite the challenges, Constantine's vision would endure in the empire's long-term survival. His reforms ensured that Christianity would play a central role in the empire's future, shaping not only the Byzantine Empire but also the cultures and societies that followed. The Christianization of the Roman Empire, set in motion by Constantine, ultimately had a profound impact on Western civilization. Ultimately, Constantine's legacy, as both a political and religious leader, reshaped not just the Roman Empire but also the future of Europe. By establishing Christianity as the state religion and positioning the emperor as a protector of the faith, Constantine changed the course of history. His reign marked the beginning of a new era, one in which the emperor's role was intertwined with the Christian church, and one in which Christianity would grow to dominate the political and cultural landscape of Europe for centuries to come. After Constantine, the Roman Empire would continue to face challenges and change, but his vision for a Christian empire provided a framework for future rulers, even as the political structures of the empire evolved. Whether in the Eastern Roman Empire or in the various kingdoms and empires that arose after the fall of Rome, Constantine's influence would continue to be felt. His legacy was not just one of military conquest and empire building. It was a legacy of spiritual transformation that shaped the very identity of the Western world. As we look at the Roman Empire after Constantine, we see a society deeply shaped by his vision. The religious and political shifts that he initiated would continue to influence rulers, societies, and cultures for centuries to come. Constantine's embrace of Christianity, his reforms, and his vision for a Christian Roman Empire would remain a guiding force for future generations, shaping not only the future of the Roman Empire, but also the history of Western civilization itself. The legacy of Constantine is complex. It is a legacy of both unity and division, of empire and faith, of power and transformation. The empire he left behind would continue to be shaped by the dual forces of the church and the emperor, with each playing a central role in determining the course of history. And in the end, Constantine's reforms helped to establish Christianity as a dominant force in the world, a force that continues to shape the world today. Constantine's reforms set a foundation for a dramatically different future for the Roman Empire, one that would not only survive but thrive through centuries of change, despite its eventual political fragmentation. After Constantine's death, Christianity continued its upward trajectory, firmly rooted in the empire's structures, and his legacy would echo throughout the history of the Eastern Roman Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire. This influence was particularly felt in the Eastern Empire, which remained a stronghold of Christian power for over 1,000 years, long after the fall of Rome in the West. The Byzantine Empire, under the guidance of Constantine's vision, became a model of Christian governance. Constantinople, the city Constantine founded and named after himself, became the heart of the Christianized Roman world. Its strategic position and its emperor's role as both a political and religious leader turned it into a fortress of Christian belief. In fact, the Eastern Roman Empire, unlike the West, did not fall to the same pressures that led to its collapse. It persisted through invasions, internal strife, and religious conflicts, holding on to Christianity as the core pillar of its existence. Meanwhile, the Western Roman Empire, though it continued to exist for a while after Constantine's death, began to crumble. By the late 5th century, the last Roman emperor was overthrown, and the Western Roman Empire ceased to exist. But while the political structures faltered, Constantine's religious reforms ensured that Christianity not only survived, but thrived, influencing kingdoms and states across Europe. The transformation of the Roman Empire from paganism to Christianity provided a new moral and spiritual foundation for rulers and societies, ensuring that, even as the empire fractured, the Christian faith would be a binding force in the Westward. Centuries after Constantine's death, the empire found itself divided, but his legacy continued to reverberate through his successors. His son Constantius II and later emperors would continue his work. The relationship between the church and the emperor became increasingly complex. Christian emperors continued to assert their authority over both the religious and political spheres, and the notion of the emperor as divinely ordained took hold, profoundly changing the nature of imperial power. However, this divine right was not without complications. The ongoing struggle for power between church and state would lead to significant theological and political disputes, such as the Arian controversy, and would eventually give rise to the medieval concept of a pope's supremacy over kings. While Constantine had seen the church as a stabilizing force for the empire, future rulers would have to navigate the delicate balance between religious authority and imperial rule. Constantine's own role as a religious leader was groundbreaking. He became the first emperor to merge his political role with religious leadership, a trend that would continue throughout much of European history. His policies, like his support for Christian bishops, the building of churches, and his involvement in religious councils, cemented the idea of the emperor as the protector of the Christian faith. This was a pivotal shift away from the traditional Roman view of the emperor as a political ruler with only nominal religious duties. The transformation was not limited to the imperial court. Christianity's rise through Constantine's support fundamentally reshaped Roman culture, law, and public life. Pagan temples were dismantled or repurposed. While Christian churches flourished, social norms and values shifted in response to Christian teachings, influencing everything from family structure to legal systems. Church's growing influence also marked a shift in Roman politics, with Christian leaders increasingly gaining influence in the courts and councils of the empire. Yet the extent to which this transformation was inevitable is debatable. Could the Roman Empire have continued to thrive as a pagan society, or was Christianity always destined to take hold? Constantine's vision, which aligned with both spiritual and political strategy, created an environment where Christianity could flourish in ways that other religions could not. By embracing Christianity and integrating it into the Roman political system, Constantine laid the groundwork for a new world order, one that would influence the course of Western civilization for over 1,000 years. Through Constantine's policies, the Christian faith was able to take root within the Roman military and the broader society. His reforms did not merely promote religious tolerance, they established Christianity as the foundation of imperial life. This shift had far-reaching consequences, not just for Rome, but for all of Europe. As the Roman Empire fractured, the Christian Church became a unifying force in the West, filling the power vacuum left by the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Even after Constantine's death, the Christianization of the empire continued. His policies set the stage for Christianity to dominate the political and cultural landscape of Europe, influencing everything from monarchies to legal systems. As the Roman Empire broke into different kingdoms and eventually evolved into medieval Christendom, the legacy of Constantine's vision continued to shape the future of Europe, influencing the development of the medieval church, its relationship with realms, kings, and the role of religion in governance. In the Eastern Roman Empire, the Christianization of the empire under Constantine's vision would have lasting effects. While the empire would face its own challenges, Constantine's influence would ensure that Christianity would remain a dominant force for centuries. The Byzantine Empire would become a beacon of Christian culture, even as the rest of the Western world struggled with political upheavals. Through it all, Constantine's vision for a Christianized empire would shape the future of both the church and the state. Ultimately, Constantine's reforms had far-reaching consequences that went well beyond the Roman Empire. They set the stage for the Christianization of Europe, laid the groundwork for the medieval period, and influenced the course of Western civilization. While his vision was not without challenges, it proved to be one of the most significant turning points in history, altering the course of both the Roman Empire and the Christian Church for centuries to come. Constantine's legacy was not just one of empire building, it was one of spiritual transformation, political innovation, and cultural change, a legacy that continues to echo through history. If you enjoyed this epic journey, please subscribe to our channel for more thrilling historical tales. Don't miss out on new videos. Hit the notification bell to stay updated.